Hey, Joy, what time is it?
It's time for the Cruise Day Fun Podcast.
That's right. And this week we're talking about Royal Caribbean. We've got some awesome Royal Caribbean cruise tips for you.
That's right.
So
exciting.
It is exciting. Put in the comments any questions you have, or especially if you've never been on a Royal Caribbean cruise. This is going to be a great podcast for you. And if you have been on Royal Caribbean before, you might pick up some new tips, but also comment below and share your tips. We want to learn from you too. Let's get started with our first Royal Caribbean cruise tips, let's start before you even get on the ship. Pre-cruise tips. I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start by saying, and this applies to other cruise lines too, but book as early as possible to get the best prices. It's hard to predict exactly when the best price is going to be, but generally, in my experience on Royal Caribbean and other cruise lines, the best prices are early on. Book early and save. What do you have? What's your pre-cruise Royal Caribbean cruise tip? That's a mouthful.
It is. Anyways, download the Royal app to your phone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The Royal Caribbean has, I'll just make some noise here. Royal Caribbean has this great app that you can get in the App Store. We've linked the link down below so you can download it in the description below. You'll want to have that downloaded before the cruise, if at all possible, because you can use it for planning ahead of your cruise, reserving experiences, and getting information, that sort of thing. But when you get on the ship, it comes to life. It will give you information about activities on board, when you have reservations, and it will even give you like a summary of your account, so you can be sure that you're on target for your budget for any additional spending you do while on board. The Royal Caribbean app. That's a great pre-cruise tip.
And
also,
And you also want to make sure you have your important paperwork.
Oh, okay. A bonus tip.
Yeah.
Before you go to the cruise, before embarkation day, you got to be sure you do your pre-cruise check-in. You want to check in ahead of time. It makes it a lot easier when you get to the terminal. And I was going to actually add to that a couple other tips. We're going to go back and forth.
Sure.
We should have talked about this before. You'd think this was our first Cruise Day Fun podcast, but it's not. We hope you've been watching. Anyway, here's one that if you're the one doing the booking, you're going to get a lot of emails leading up to your cruise day from Royal Caribbean with offers. Yeah. And it's going to feel like marketing, like you get from all kinds, if you're like me, you get from all kinds of other companies. But these are basically saying, hey, book now. Book this specialty dining, or get this drink package, or check out this, or check out that. And don't ignore those. I'm not saying that it's necessarily always going to be an offer you want to take, but you're going to save money. And if you wait until you get on board, those offers, not only might they cost more, but they might actually be sold out.
Yeah.
That leads me to my final pre-cruise Royal Caribbean cruise tip, which is the offer that I like the best before your cruise. Accept the offer and book the key.
Yes.
We did a video on our experience with the key, and it's linked down below in the description. So check that out. The key offers all kinds of great perks, including a pre-cruise, like embarkation day lunch, exclusive lunch.
Very nice.
And it also gives you free Voom internet and a lot of other things. And they also give you a last morning, a debarkation day breakfast.
Yeah.
And you can just walk straight off the ship when you're done after that. And they help with luggage. There's a lot of cool stuff, including some VIP treatment. I think it's really worth it. And price-wise, if you're thinking of getting the Voom internet anyway, it's going to work out to be a good deal for you. So definitely check that out. Any other pre-cruise tips?
Well, I always like to pack extra baggies. Just baggies in general, so you can either put like your snacks or put like your cell phone and charger in them, so you have it all together in one like big bag. And so you have those electronics that you want, have your medicine and your like medicine and allergy medicine, or just basic some over-the-counter medicine that you have available, and especially your suntan lotion and bug spray.
Yeah, you like to be organized. I think what I'm getting from that, and I can witness that this is how she handles things for us. She's very organized in planning, not in just being sure that we have the right stuff, but that we have that it's in an organized fashion. So it's like she's a magician when I get on board, and I'm like, oh, I cut myself. Oh, I got a bandage. Oh, I forgot to bring sunscreen. Oh, I got some. But the other thing is buying that stuff beforehand on the land in your hometown at your Target or Walmart or Walgreens or wherever is going to be a lot better price than trying to buy it either on board or in a port.
Usually like a month before, I'll go to Target or Walmart and just get the lotions and little bottle of ibuprofen or whatever that you need. So I just have it and put it in a Ziploc bag and then just throw it in the suitcase when I'm packing. Makes it a lot
great
easier.
Tip. We could do a whole video, and we have done a whole video before on packing for a cruise, but we got to move on. And I got to say one more thing to add on to that, and I think you may have mentioned it, but if you think you might need it, get that Dramamine or your motion sickness medication before you go on a cruise, because
definitely
we've seen them run out on board. And even if they do have it on board or in a port, you're going to pay more. Last pre-cruise tip that I almost left out, a very important one. If you need help planning your cruise, get a travel agent to help you out. Let's move on to the big day, the cruise day, embarkation day tips. What do we have for embarkation day tips? What's your first embarkation day tip for Royal Caribbean?
Stay calm.
I'm trying to. What's your first tip for Royal Caribbean?
Stay calm.
Oh, stay calm and carry on and getting on board.
Right. Yeah. It's an exciting day. There's a lot of things going on. Don't let yourself get so stressed about, oh, did I forget this? Did I forget that? You already know that you've already packed it because you pre-packed.
And you listen to her last tip.
You pre-packed the night before, and make sure when you get on board the ship that you turn your phone off to airplane mode.
Yeah, so you want to, but by the time you set sail out to sea, you want to put on airplane mode, and then you can put your Wi-Fi on to connect to the ship's Wi-Fi, so you can use that Royal Caribbean app that Joy mentioned before, and the Voom internet if you have it.
That's right.
So great tip. Also kind of goes along with that. Be sure, stay calm, but be sure you have what you need when you go into the terminal. If you're dropping off your luggage curbside, like most people do, dropping off most of your luggage there, be sure you still have in hand when you leave that luggage behind and you go into the terminal, your identification, like your passport and your boarding pass, whether it's on your phone or paper. You don't want to go in the terminal and find out you don't have something you need to get on board.
Yeah.
Or something you might need before you get to your room, like medication.
Right. Just keep it in a backpack that you have all that stuff available for you. And one thing is, don't go overboard and eat too much or drink too much on the first day, because
I thought you were just going to say don't go overboard. I think that's a good tip for any cruise ship.
Right.
Just stay on the deck. Be safe.
But
don't go overboard with the food and drink on embarkation day. Why is that?
Because you don't want to be that person who's drunk and obnoxious. Plus, you don't want to be that person who gets sick from overeating. So pace yourself. You got several days on board, right? Yeah.
I think that's a great tip, and hopefully you weren't talking about me. But be sure. People vary on this, but our experience, particularly at Port Canaveral, is increasingly it's best to arrive at your scheduled time. You'll be given a time frame to show up. We've noticed with other cruise lines we've been on lately, and my suspicion is that Royal Caribbean will do it, or if they haven't already started doing it, and that is they will make people wait in lines or groups outside of the terminal building if they don't have that time, if they're too early. So you can show up a little late. Don't show up too late. You got to be there at least an hour before sail away time. But don't try to get there an hour early and think you're going to be sneaky and get some extra time on board. It may end up being a bigger pain where you're standing outside, and that's no fun. Yep. Any other, should I do one more, or you got another one?
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
So on Embarkation Day, go to the main dining room and find out exactly where you'll be seating. So if you don't like where you'll be sitting, then you can change where you're sitting for the rest of the cruise.
Yeah.
So if you want to be alone or
alone. Like if you want a table with just the two of you, or just the four of you, or whatever, instead of being a table for 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever. Talk to the maitre d'. Go to the main dining room and ask them about it there. That's a great tip. And also on the first on the embarkation day, consider everybody, as soon as they get on board, typically, and this isn't just Royal Caribbean, but they go to the buffet. So instead of going to the Windjammer buffet area, look and see what other options are around, especially if you want to avoid the crowds. You might be able to go to Cafe Promenade. You might be able to go grab some hot dogs out by the pool at the doghouse. Look for other options. Ask if there's other options available, or go back to the tip I gave earlier about reserving the key, and you're going to get a full service sit-down lunch in the main dining room anyway, and you won't have to fight the crowd at the Windjammer on the first day.
That's right.
So speaking of food and eating, we got to talk about our favorite topic, and that's cruise food. So what Royal Caribbean food-related cruise tips do we have?
So before you even get on board the cruise, if you have allergy restrictions, you can actually let them know ahead of time on Royal Caribbean, that you can alert them by sending in that you have allergies and special needs, and also when you go down to the main dining room, you can remind the maitre d' at that time that you have like either food allergies or you always want to have your meal started with a salad or something like that. That's more specific to your dietary. Then they'll go above and beyond to accommodate you.
And can I add on to that?
Sure.
So you said a couple different ways you can handle that. If you've got food allergies and food preferences, I'll talk about that in a second, but food allergies, letting them know ahead of time. I don't know if that's on the check-in or if you contact their special services or through your travel agent, but you can let them know ahead of time. You can also let them know when you actually get there by talking to the maitre d', or you can talk to the server on the first night. But what you're talking about too, maybe you don't have any food allergies, although that's very important. You want to be sure that you're, in good shape to enjoy the rest of your cruise. But if there's preferences, like you don't like ice in your beverage, or you
don't like broccoli.
I knew you were going to say that. Then let your server know the first night. Don't be shy about it. Don't, always be polite and everything to the crew members. We love the crew members, but let them know they want to help you out. They want you to have great experience. And generally speaking, we found that the Royal Caribbean crew does a great job of remembering what you like. And the following nights, when you go to them again, they'll remember that. And you'll feel like you're at home.
Exactly.
So great tip there. Kind of a mega tip. That's awesome. Another thing is, and this is kind of a mega tip too, because what I'm going to say here is, regardless of the Royal Caribbean ship, go and look for food in surprising places. Now, I'm not talking about going to the Central Park area and fighting the pigeons for scraps on the ground. I'm saying that people think of the Windjammer for the buffet, or they think the main dining room, but look at other things like you can get some really great appetizers. We were on Mariner this season. Not all the ships have this, but they had the bamboo room, and some of the best food we had was the appetizers at the bamboo room. Now that cost extra, so it's if it's, you got to decide if that's worth it to you. But you can get some really good food in some unexpected places on Royal Caribbean ships. Check the menus of the bars. Also at the Playmakers sports bar and arcade, they have food there too. And I mentioned before the doghouse. The doghouse has great hot dogs and sausages. Those are complimentary. And You can find pastries, snacks, pizza, other things at the Promenade Cafe. If you like cruise food like we do. And when you're on a cruise, maybe you stick to the 3 meals when you're home. But when you're on a cruise, graze, have fun, have a snack in between meals, have a late night snack, have first and second breakfast, as Joy always says. You'll find a lot of great food around the ship.
So if you're also if you like me, who needs to make sure that they have some sort of fruit or something. So when you go, a food tip is when you go to the buffet, grab extra pieces of fruit so you can bring to your room. So if you do wake up and you need a piece of fruit to eat or have a croissant, you have it available with you.
Yeah, I got to throw in here, and I don't know if you've heard this, but one of the cruise lines, and I don't believe it was Royal Caribbean, but one of the cruise lines is actually cracking down on that. So they're trying to prevent people from taking extra food to their rooms. I don't believe it was Royal Caribbean, but I think that's a great tip. I know that when we sailed on Royal Caribbean last time, you could certainly do that. Which, yeah. So take advantage of all the food.
Right, and if you go to an MDR or main dining room and you want to bring an extra piece of dessert back to your room, go ahead and order that extra piece of dessert. Or if you want an extra meal or entree to bring back to your room, bring it back to your room.
Okay.
Or if you really like an appetizer, like you really like shrimp cocktail, order 2, because then you can have
extra shrimp.
Extra shrimp, exactly.
It seems like most of our food tips are about how to get extra food.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Any other food tips that we should share for Royal Caribbean?
Nope. That's it.
Okay. Well, we hope you liked those food tips. We got a lot more tips coming up.
I did forget one.
Okay, you're ruining my rhythm. Go ahead.
So if you want to have breakfast, a great tip besides going to the MDR and going to the buffet is try going to Johnny Rockets for breakfast. They also serve breakfast too, and it doesn't cost extra.
Johnny Rockets, that's a great tip. That kind of goes along with what I was saying about finding food in different places. Kind of explore things and going and trying different food that you might not have had before or might not usually have at home. It's great. As I was saying before, if you are enjoying this, if you like this sort of information, please hit the thumbs up button and like this video. Let's move on to what goes with food.
Drinks.
Okay, what do we have for Royal Caribbean drink tips?
So if you invest in a drink package, if you think that would work for your room and for yourselves. Otherwise, if you're not a big alcohol drinker, you might also want to consider the free drinks that are available all times. You can get your coffee, tea, juice, flavored water at any time. Not at the bars, but they do have drink stations all around, where you can get your tea, coffee, and milk and flavored water available all the time.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And they do have like hot chocolate packets available too. So
there's so many options.
Yeah.
So many to choose from. So for my drink tips, I'm going to give you, instead of giving you individual tips, I'm going to give you my suggestions for the bars that are typically found in Royal Caribbean ships for what you're looking for. So for example, when you're looking for an outdoor bar experience, of course, go hit the pool bar right there by the pool, the center of action on a nice sunny day. That's cruising, right? If you want to have the adult outdoor-ish experience, you can go to the solarium. They've got a bar there too. And if you're looking for kind of an indoor spot, you've had enough of the sun or whatever, head to the schooner bar for a laid-back bar experience. Or if you're looking for something with more of an energetic vibe, go to Playmaker's Sports Bar. That can be a lot of fun too.
Another great tip is if you like Irish coffee in the morning, my tip is go to the coffee place or go get your coffee, and then
At the Windhammer?
Yep, go get your coffee, and then after you get your coffee, go to any of the bars and ask for a shot of Bailey's. And then you can pour it in your coffee and you can have an Irish coffee.
But why wouldn't you just ask the bartender for an Irish coffee at the bar? Are you saying if you're on the drink plan and you've got the Bailey's as part of your drink plan? Because that'll save you money.
Yeah, they'll save you money.
Yep. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know you were so into the Irish coffee. I know you like the Bailey's.
And if that is also if you want a mimosa or...
You going to be carrying your orange juice around the ship too?
No, you would just go to a bar, get some champagne, and then when you go to the buffet, get your orange juice and mix it together, and then you have a mimosa.
I think we've got a frustrated bartender on our hands here. Okay, that's an interesting. I did not see that one coming. Cool. Another tip that I should have mentioned for drinks when it comes to, I mentioned daytime tips for drinking, but in the evening I'm going to suggest the bar to go to. They have it on, I don't know if it's all ships, but I think most Royal Caribbean ships have this one. And if you're looking for a place for live music, go to the Bolero's Lounge. You've got a nice Latin vibe. I really enjoyed hanging out there. They have a dance floor. You can dance, enjoy the live music. It's got a really nice evening time vibe. So, yeah, another great tip. At least I hope you like that one.
If you find a bar that you really like to hang out with, make friends with the bartender. So when they see you next time, they have your drink ready.
You sound like a pro here. Okay.
I like my frozen daiquiris.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is too. You may have heard a tip like that before about treat your bartender nice or whatever, but it really applies on a cruise ship. If you have an idea of this is the bar I'm going to probably go to the most, doing that early on, not just because maybe they'll give you a better pour, because they might be restricted on that. But I did notice that when I took good care of my bartender, that when there's a crowd, they seem to notice me a lot faster than if I went to one of the other bars where I hadn't been before. So Great tip. Any more drink tips? Or are we ready for stateroom tips?
Go ahead.
Stateroom tips, starting with before you get on the cruise. So this goes back to before. Go into the Royal Caribbean website and order ahead of time for your room. You can order decorations. Surprise somebody, maybe somebody else that's going to be cruising with you for a special occasion. Put up decorations. I'll have it up there for you when you get there. Or you can order gifts, treats, drinks, food. We already mentioned how much we like that, but you can have it waiting in your room if you want some snacks in there. And we always, no matter what cruise line we go on, we always order bottled water to have in the room, just so we have the bottled water that we're comfortable with having back at home.
Right. So I also recommend for your stateroom, either bring magnetic clips for the walls so you can hang your lanyard or your paperwork, or if the walls aren't I'm metal. Not sure if all Royal Caribbean walls are metal, but some may not be. Bring command strip hooks, so then you can put them up on your wall.
Yeah,
and then you can take them off when you're done with your cruise and doesn't leave a mark. So, and then also what I like to do is bring your towel clips just for the curtains. So when you close the curtains, there's not that little thin gap. So you can close it with your towel hooks. So you can get a good night's sleep, and also bring an air freshener for the bathroom and for the room, so it smells nice, and also a nightlight. If you're in an interior room, it gets really dark, and if you wake up in the middle of the night and you stump your toe like I have, it's nice to have just a little nightlight in the corners of the room, so you kind of have an idea of where the bathroom is, so you're not bumping your toes.
Yeah, and I like you could also take we've taken before the little battery powered what do you call them, votive candles, those little, like we have in the lantern over behind Joy. And also, my brother gave us this cool little motion activated battery light that you can use to light up an area. So I think that's a great tip, especially for an interior room. I had one more stateroom tip I want to throw out there, and this is very Royal Caribbean specific because of the layout of their ships, especially their larger, newer ships, is when you're going to book your stateroom, beware when you see the prices for deals that the balcony cabins, they're going to put the price of the starting level balcony cabin, just like any cruise line would for any category, what's inside, ocean view, whatever. It might seem like, oh, balcony cabin, that's not a bad deal. But what you'll find on these newer, bigger Royal Caribbean ships is they're going to start with the balcony cabins that don't even have a view of the ocean, which might sound strange if you haven't been on a Royal Caribbean ship, but they have balcony cabins that face the Royal Promenade, that face Central Park, that face the boardwalk, all these interior neighborhoods on the ships, especially like the Oasis class ships. And if that's what you want, that's awesome. But just understand that that's what you're going to be getting. And what I've seen is that you're going to pay more if you want to have the traditional ocean-facing cabins that give you the fresh air, the fresher air, I'll say, because those areas I'm describing are most of those are truly outdoors. But to get the ocean view, be sure that you're going to be paying more than the basic balcony. Anyway, any other stateroom tips?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, well, cool. We're moving right along here. Let's get into talking about some activity tips. Starting with onboard activity tips. I guess that's, if we're talking about a cruise ship, you're not going to be doing them offboard. What onboard Royal Caribbean cruise tips do you have?
Get there early.
Well, to the activity.
Right. Get there early.
We're already on the ship. Yeah. You some of these activities can really fill up if you're wanting to do like the what's the surf simulator, the Flow Rider. If you want to do the Flow Rider,
right,
you gotta get there. You gotta get there early. Or some ships, I think they might even reserve it. And with the key. Going back to the key, I believe we didn't use it, but one of the benefits is that you can get special times where you can use the Flow Rider and some other things.
You also want to get there early because some activities, such as bingo or going to the comedy or any show, you want to make sure you get there early so you get a seat, so you're not standing in the back.
Or at least get a good seat. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. Going along with that is before your cruise or as early as possible, reserve the popular activities if they can. Not everything is going to offer reservations, but if it's something you're just like, oh, when I do this cruise, this is the one thing I want to do, reserve it ahead of time. Right.
If you want to see that show that is really popular, make sure you put in a reservation for that show, because sometimes they require that you put in a reservation early before even the cruising. So you want to make sure if you want to see that show that you reserve it.
Or it might sell out and you won't be able to go anyway, or you'll be in the standby line.
Right.
And to Joy's earlier point, some things don't even provide or give reservation I can't talk. Don't have reservations as an option, so that's when you have to get there early. Okay. Any other onboard activity tips? I got one or two more.
I would say some of the more popular activities, if for some reason you weren't able to get a reservation for like the ice show or some specialty show, you can always ask at customer service if there's available seating available in case people canceled or whatever. So it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also for an onboard activity tip, there's a lot of scheduled activities you'll see around the ship, very popular things, but explore the ship. You'll find some hidden activities, some hidden areas so that you can go and explore. Like a lot of the Royal Caribbean ships, at least at sail away time, we noticed they allowed people to go out to the helicopter pad on the front of the ship and enjoy the view as they sailed away. We also discovered on one of the ships that you can go, and if you explore just right, just past the solarium, there's a little passageway around the outer deck where you can go, and there's a viewing window that you can peek into the bridge and watch the captain sail the ship.
Yep.
So explore the ship, take advantage, make your own onboard activities, in addition to all the others, especially when the other ones are really busy.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else? We move on to specific sea day tips?
That's right.
Okay, what you got?
I have, decide beforehand what you want to do on a sea day, because you can be as active as you want. If you want to be active, make sure that you sign up for the zip line or the flow rider in advance, so you're not having to wait to have access to those activities. Make sure you know the times that they're open, so you're there in plenty of time to do said activities, such as if you want to go on the be in line to do the rock climbing wall, you can do that. So
that's good. Yeah, and also kind of my general suggestion for sea days, because sea days are, just so in case anybody's not clear, sea days means that's when the ship is not gonna go into port. It's not gonna be going to land at all. So everybody, all the passengers, is going to be on board at that time, and you can go a couple different routes. If you want to just kind of escape the crowd, look for places to go. Plan ahead and look for places to go that are quieter. Like there's usually a library, there's some quiet venues. You can find some quiet spots. Be prepared for the ship to be busier, activities and lines to be longer on a sea day. Or you can take the approach of going with the flow and just going and enjoying the energy. Do the things that you can't do on a port day, because some things might not be open on a port day. So sea days, look for those things that you notice were closed. Like, for example, the casino and the shops are typically going to be closed on port days when they're in port. So on the sea days, that's when you're going to go hit those.
And also, you can take advantage of the rope course or the miniature golf, or just it's your decision on how active you want to be. If you really like to be active, you can take advantage of the sports court area, or take advantage of rock climbing and walk around the ship if you want to. Or if you just want to lay around the pool, you can lay around the pool and read a book and just relax. Yeah. So
okay,
it's your vacation, so do what you want.
Okay. Any other sea day tips?
If you want ice cream, and you want, instead of a cone size, you want like a lot of ice cream.
What the heck?
Go to like a drink station at the buffet, and get a cup of a cup for juice or something, and then go to the soft serve, and you can fill up your cup with soft serve ice cream, so you can have as much ice cream as you want.
Or ask your stateroom attendant if they can bring you an ice bucket. Take that ice bucket and go to town at the soft serve station. What the heck are you talking about? Okay,
you can do that too, but that's really going over.
We got to move on. We got some more tips to share. We got to move on to port day tips. But before we do that, we want to ask, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future great content and interesting tips like this. It doesn't cost anything. It's just a way to follow so you don't miss our future cruise videos. We cover all kinds of different cruise lines and cruise ships, including Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Disney, Norwegian, what have you. Click down below to subscribe.
That's
and
right.
Hit that notification bell if you want to know whenever we have a new video.
That's right.
Port day tips for Royal Caribbean. What you got?
I say
get some ice cream. Go get that soft serve and take it to board.
No.
Go ahead.
I say make sure you have your bottled water and bring it with you in your backpack or your day pack.
Yeah, your beach bag or whatever. Mm-hmm.
So you're not spending extra money for bottled water.
For bottled water
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to shore. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that can be great for your excursion or whatever. I mean, there might be some restrictions for the excursions, but like when we go and we just explore a port, it's very handy to have my wife with me going, hey, you don't need a bandage yet, right? Okay, well, how about a bottled water? I've got that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want some mints?
And if you have kids or you yourself know that you might get hungry on your excursion, make sure when you go to the Windjammer buffet, grab those extra little boxes of cereal and throw them in your day bag so your kids can have them as a snack or you can have them as a snack.
Royal Caribbean does not endorse Cruise Day Fun or these tips. I'm not sure if that's technically you might be told you can't take that off, but hey, you could try. And I think somebody might have done that before. But hey, that's another fun Cruise Day Fun tip. And
I know
if somebody
a lot
gives you a
of
hard
people
time,
besides myself that does that.
Okay, if they give you a hard time about it, tell them you heard about it on some other YouTube channel. Another port day tip is don't rush to get off the ship. Obviously, if you have an excursion booked, you got to be there by a certain time. But if you can schedule it later, or if you're not doing an excursion, don't rush to be in that crowded line to get off the ship on the gangway or on the what do you call it, the little taxi boat, the tender. Don't rush for two reasons. One, you can be standing in a long line.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. And we've done that before. We got off almost first thing, and there was stuff that wasn't even open yet. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, unless you think you're going to want the whole entire day in port, stay on board, because those first few hours are the quietest time on the whole time you're going to be on a cruise. You can go and explore places that were too busy at other times. Some things, again, like the casino and the shops, will likely be closed, but activities that you want to explore, places you want to check out on board, are best explored on port days, particularly early on in the day.
And sometimes the salon or the spa will have discounts on port days.
So. Well, you're talking my language now. Look for those deals. And that's a great tip for later on in the cruise too. A lot of times these cruise lines, Royal Caribbean and others, will have special sales on the onboard stores towards the end of the cruise. So watch for that too. Speaking of towards the end of the cruise, we got to talk about the saddest day.
Yeah.
The day you have to get off the ship. Disembarkation tips. What do we have for our first Royal Caribbean disembarkation day tip?
I always say that before you go to bed that night, before the day that you have to leave, make sure you pack up everything. Yeah. So, and when you pack up everything, make sure that you look around, make sure that you have all your electronic chargers or whatnots all in the same spot or in a Ziploc bag, so you know it's where it's at. Plus, you have a change of clothing and your toothbrush and whatever you need in the morning is there, because you don't want to be that person who walks off with their pajamas unless that's
wearing their pajamas. Yeah,
right, wearing your pajamas, or forget that. You just don't want to be that person forgetting your things.
Yeah, so kind of like when you first got on board the ship, you're going to have the main luggage that you're going to leave curbside for the porters, and they'll get delivered to your room. But you're going to also have some sort of carry-on, a backpack or a bag or whatever. You're going to want to do something similar leaving, unless you're going to take your bags off yourself, which most people actually do the thing where you put the bags in the hall the night before. That main bag that you left at the curb is what you're going to want up in the hall, and you're going to want to keep back that backpack and have the items that Joy's talking about the bathroom items and the clothes for the next morning in that bag, because that's a problem. That's a problem if you don't have what you need.
And make sure that you settle your bill the night before, so you're not one of those people standing in line in the customer service line, because that is no fun.
And again, that's where that awesome Royal Caribbean app that Joy mentioned early on here will come in handy, because you can check your charges on there and you can get that resolved. I 100% agree. I even say look at it as you throughout the cruise. I usually check it once a day.
Yeah.
And if I see something weird on there, we have a talk with because I don't remember having any particular charge problems on Royal Caribbean, but that's a good practice for all cruise lines.
Another good practice is make sure the night before, if you can pick up your photo package and put a reminder on your phone, or if you have sticky notes with you, put it on your door to remember to pick up any alcohol that you purchased at ports, so you don't forget to
pick it up. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think we've ever gotten the photo package on Royal Caribbean, so we've had to pick up photos, so I'm not sure exactly how it works. So just be aware, so you know when you can get them, and do it as early as possible. I know we got alcohol one time, because I got a bottle that broke in my suitcase that I will never forget.
And make sure you count how many pieces of luggage you have, so when you're leaving you can count your luggage, make sure you have said number of luggage, because we've left luggage before, because we just are in a rush and we just think we have everything, and
yep, that can happen.
And then you're like, Mr. Medic, did you forget a piece of luggage?
Okay, any final thoughts? We need to wrap up.
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Final thoughts for me is to book your cruise on Royal Caribbean based on your cruise style. The smaller, older ships tend to be more relaxing and intimate. They may not have all the fancy things that these newer ships have, but if you're more interested in having a relaxing experience where you don't have to spend a lot of time finding your way around the ship, the smaller, older ships can be really awesome. If you're into more energetic, active cruise with a whole bunch of options, a lot of food options, a lot of activities to do on board, of course, the larger, newer ships are going to be more up your alley. Lastly, I'll say it's hard to give tips on both the larger and smaller ships, because there's a lot of variance. So we try to stay real general here. But if you have questions on any Royal Caribbean tips or just information, put them in the comments below. And if you have tips to share of your own, comment and let us know what that was.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Of course, he stole it, but yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else that I didn't steal?
No, I would just say, to get over the last day of a cruise, it's always good to book a new cruise.
Okay. Oh yeah, have a future cruise book that makes it a lot more pleasant. Yeah, that's the other thing we always say is, if you're flying back or driving back, you don't live local to the cruise port, it can be a really good option if you can do it, to wait another day to leave, not only so you don't have challenges or have to worry about meeting your flight, but also so you have some time to do something fun near that port. Like here in the Orlando area, if you sail out of Port Canaveral or Tampa or somewhere like that, you can go to see the mouse or see the wizard. You can go have some fun before you have to fly back home and face the reality of going back to work or school.
Right.
Next time, we're going to have on our next podcast, we're going to be talking about what?
Stateroom selections.
Okay, so this isn't cruise line specific. That we'll be talking about things to know, tips for selecting your stateroom.
That's right.
We hope you've enjoyed this. I forget how we end this. How do we end this?
Thanks for joining us on our podcast. Fun, fun, fun for cruise day fun. Fun, fun, fun for cruise day fun podcast.